When Sarah Young Ford stopped into Salt Lake City Hall on Valentine's Day in 1870, she had no idea that she would make history. The schoolteacher just wanted to cast her vote early, just 2 days after the Utah Territory's legislature unanimously approved full voting rights for its women. The local election allowed Utah's female citizens the first opportunity to vote, and Young Ford became the first woman ever to vote in Utah and in the United States under laws making women equal to male voters. 25 women voted that day, the first women in the entire country, but Young Ford is still the very first, likely in a rush to get to her classroom on time. Lila Conley just wanted the U.S. government to leave her people's burial ground alone. One of the first Native female attorneys in the nation, Conley attended law school to fight for the Wyandot tribe's sacred resting place, and she took her case all the way to the Supreme Court. As the first Native woman to argue in front of the court, Conley claimed the government's attempted sale of the land violated its treaty with her people. The Supreme Court ruled against her, saying the sale could proceed, but Conley ultimately won when a Kansas state senator passed a law saying no one could develop the land. Today, the Huron Indian Cemetery is a National Historic Landmark. In May of 1961, the original Freedom Ride took off from Washington, D.C. One Mae Frances Moultrie Howard from Sumter, South Carolina, hopped aboard in her hometown. Moultrie Howard was the only Black woman on that original Freedom Ride, a bus trip to test a Supreme Court decision declaring segregated bus travel unconstitutional. 3 days later, the bus rolled into Alabama, where an angry mob waited. The white supremacists shot out the tires of the bus and then threw a bomb on board. Moultrie Howard suffered severe smoke inhalation and went to a local hospital for treatment. Despite the severity of her injuries and those of her fellow Freedom Riders, the hospital did not allow them to stay overnight. Throughout her life, she continued to advocate for equality and civil rights. Patsy Mink was the first woman of color to serve in the U.S. Congress, but she got her start in advocacy much earlier. During college, when she realized her residence hall only housed students of color because of a long-standing policy of segregation, Mink gathered supporters and successfully lobbied to end the policy. She wanted to be a doctor, but on the advice of a mentor, switched to studying law instead. When Hawaii became a state in 1959, Mink knew she wanted to serve, so she ran for Congress. She lost once, but realized her dream in the 1964 election. She authored pivotal legislation like Title IX and the Women's Educational Equity Act during her 6 terms in Congress. Dolores Huerta grew up in a farm town in California, where her mother's thriving business often served the migrant farm workers who supported the agriculture industry. This upbringing inspired her to advocate for the rights of those farm workers, and in 1962, she and labor leader Cesar Chavez started the National Farm Workers Association. Shortly after that, she organized the Delano grape strike, in which consumers felt the effect of the true cost of their produce. She lobbied for legislation to improve conditions and opportunities for these workers. As an activist for farm workers' rights, she has been arrested nearly 24 times for civil disobedience and for protesting.